What if everything you were taught about hell was wrong? What if the flames, the screams, and the punishments were nothing more than distractions, hiding something far more intelligent, far more structured? In this world, chaos doesn't reign below. Architecture does. Beneath the myths and the sermons lies an empire built by minds that refused heaven's perfection. They are called the demon architects, the infernal kings who designed the underworld realms with blueprints of rebellion and mathematics of defiance. And once you see their design, you'll never look at human civilization the same way again. You see, hell isn't a place of destruction. It's a masterpiece of forbidden architecture, a spiritual machine built with corrupted light. The infernal order thrives through occult engineering, hell's geometry and Gnostic teachings hidden across history, art, and even technology. Every cathedral, every skyscraper, every glowing screen you stare at, all trace back to the infernal design. Humanity didn't just imagine hell, it inherited it. The ancient demons didn't vanish, they became the architects of human ambition, embedding their occult knowledge into the very foundations of progress. This video unravels that design, the secret architecture of hell, revealing how Lucifer the fallen angel, Belial demon, Asmodeus demon, and Baal demon transformed rebellion into geometry, energy, and empire. We'll explore how infernal energy systems, forbidden machines, and the 9 infernal courts operate like a divine bureaucracy turned inside out. It's not religion, it's dark esotericism, a map of reality where every act of creation mirrors a shadow beneath it. If you've ever felt that our world runs on invisible rules, hierarchies, desires, systems of power that feed on emotion and control, you're already sensing the architecture they built. The demon architects didn't just build hell, they built the idea of civilization itself. And through their infernal blueprint, they continue to influence every act of creation, from stone to code, from faith to technology. Once you recognize their mark, it's everywhere. Stay until the end, because the final revelation might just change the way you understand yourself. And if this kind of occult revelation, infernal wisdom, and esoteric history fascinates you, subscribe to the channel, activate the notifications, and join this descent into hidden truths. Together, we'll explore the structures that bind light and shadow and uncover the hell architecture still pulsing beneath the world we think we know. It's strange to think that hell was never chaos. That's what they never told you in those old sermons. The truth is far more unsettling. Hell was architecture, not an accident. It was a system, an infernal blueprint drawn by minds that once shaped the stars. What if every demon architect was, in truth, an exiled engineer? They didn't destroy heaven's design. They mirrored it, twisted it, inverted divine order into forbidden architecture. The underworld's secrets begin here. Corruption was never destruction. It was a different kind of order, one that thrives in shadows, where balance is replaced by control. The infernal kings weren't beasts of rage. They were thinkers, builders, visionaries of rebellion. They saw symmetry as a prison and sought freedom in asymmetry. That's how the hell architecture began, with precision, not madness. Imagine angels using celestial compasses to measure rebellion, tracing hell's geometry across the void. It's a paradox, isn't it? The very beings cast out for pride became the founders of infernal design, crafting the first hell blueprint from divine memory. Their crime wasn't chaos, it was imitation with intent. There's a lesson buried in that paradox. Whenever order becomes too perfect, corruption appears as a teacher. Think about human history. Every empire, every religion, every system collapses under the weight of its own symmetry. The occult philosophy of hell whispers that even corruption has a structure, a pulse, a mathematics. Those who study esoteric architecture know that every temple, every city, every human psyche follows the same principle. The shadow mirrors the light, and without shadow, light cannot define itself. That's not evil, that's dark esotericism in motion. In this hidden order, Lucifer the fallen angel becomes less of a villain and more of an architect of balance. His fall wasn't just punishment, it was transformation. He took the divine codes and rewrote them in reverse, crafting the first infernal order. If heaven is built on love and harmony, hell is built on will and defiance. Both are systems of creation, just different frequencies of the same occult knowledge. The hell dimensions were the first laboratories of inversion, places where symmetry was deconstructed to reveal new forms of being. And yet, corruption doesn't always look monstrous. Sometimes it's beautiful, too beautiful. Cathedrals, ziggurats, pyramids, even modern skyscrapers echo the same esoteric symbolism found in the ancient demons' blueprints. You can see it if you look close enough, the repetition of sacred ratios, the imitation of celestial geometry. Human hands built them. Yes, but whose design were they following? The hidden truths suggest that those infernal entities whispered their proportions through dreams, leaving behind a secret architecture of hell that still shapes the mortal world. To understand corruption as creation is to see the Gnostic teachings come alive. The builders of hell weren't making prisons, they were making reflections. Each hell construction, every infernal machine, was born from a need to express divine intelligence through defiance. It's like the artist who paints rebellion on sacred walls, damned by the temple, worshipped by history. Demonology, explained, isn't just about infernal beings. It's about the rebellion of design itself, the transformation of divine patterns into occult structures that sustain both realms, seen and unseen. So when people speak of fire, torment, and punishment, they miss the essence. Hell is not beneath you, and it's around you, built into the very systems you serve. Every contract, every hierarchy, every building that feeds on ambition is part of that same infernal construction. The dark mysticism of the underworld isn't about suffering, it's about energy, power, and the architecture of spiritual inversion. And once you see that pattern, that infernal blueprint, you can never unsee it. You begin to ask, who designed it first? And that question leads directly to the next revelation, the first architects. Before the flames, there was memory. The fallen angels didn't lose their knowledge when they fell. They carried it like embers under the ash. Among them were the first architects, the divine engineers who once shaped the firmament with perfect ratios and sacred harmonics. Names like Lucifer, Belial, and Baal echo through apocryphal texts as more than kings. They were mathematicians of heaven, beings who knew the hidden mechanics of divine creation. Their punishment was exile, but their gift was remembrance. They remembered the pattern of light, and from it they built the underworld realms. Imagine Lucifer, the fallen angel, sketching the foundations of his rebellion, not in wrath, but precision. He wasn't raging, he was designing. The hell architecture we know today, the cryptic geometries, the infernal thrones, the ordered chaos of the 9 infernal courts, all began with those celestial drafts. Belial demon, with his cold logic, recalculated divine symmetry to birth a new kind of infernal order. Baal demon, fragmented and radiant, wove multiplicity into structure. They were not just demons, they were architects who turned memory into matter. There's something profoundly human about that, isn't there? To fall yet remember. To be exiled from one realm and build another from the ruins. We do it every day, in our own small hells. When we lose something sacred, faith, love, purpose, we reconstruct meaning with what remains. That's the essence of infernal design. The demon architects didn't create out of hatred. They built from longing. They took the occult knowledge of heaven and inverted it, crafting forbidden realms where light could exist in defiance, not obedience. The hell blueprint wasn't drawn in blood, it was carved in memory. Every infernal king retained a fragment of heaven's proportions, what esoteric scholars call the golden sin ratio. It's the shadow of the divine golden ratio, a formula where harmony bends into temptation. Esoteric history tells that these blueprints were passed down through ancient occult lore, hidden within temple stones, encoded in chants, and mirrored in occult structures. Even now, those who study Gnostic Inferno claim that within every act of rebellion lies the memory of divine order, reversed but not erased. Luciferian secrets suggest the first architects didn't just design hell, they designed humanity's capacity for creation. By preserving the divine architecture within corruption, they ensured mankind could build, dream, and desire. Every artist, every visionary, every architect who dares to defy convention channels that same infernal wisdom. It's the same current that flows through forbidden knowledge, the pulse that drives innovation, rebellion, and revelation. The hidden realities they unveiled became the subconscious scaffolding of human imagination. When occult revelation meets dark spirituality, one truth becomes clear. The first architects didn't seek to destroy the divine, they sought to understand it from the other side. They built laboratories of inversion, spiritual workshops where hell energy systems mimicked celestial light through distortion. That's what made their creation forbidden, not evil, but independent. They wanted to be creators, not servants. Their design was not a denial of God, it was the ultimate experiment in freedom. In the secret history of hell, creation itself became an act of defiance, and so the first architects stand not as monsters, but mirrors. They show us that knowledge, once known, cannot be unlearned, only transformed. The infernal construction they began was both rebellion and remembrance. And maybe that's why their patterns still haunt the human mind, because they remind us that even in exile, intelligence adapts, design evolves, and memory persists. Yet, one among them, Baal Demon, took this remembrance further than the others, turning light itself into decay, beauty into distortion. His geometry was not lost light, it was corrupted symmetry. Baal was not merely a name whispered in fear, he was a principle, an equation of distortion. The Baal Demon, first among the infernal kings, embodies multiplicity and inversion. 3 heads in one form, that was no curse, it was design. His body mirrored the first breakdown of divine symmetry, a visible rift in the hell blueprint. In that moment, the geometry of decay was born, the first mathematical proof that corruption can organize itself. Where heaven sought perfection, Baal introduced variation. His architecture wasn't destruction, it was differentiation, the dark birth of individuality. The ancients feared him not because he was monstrous, but because he was too precise. The demon architects who followed his pattern learned that every ratio, once reversed, creates a portal, a passage into the forbidden realms. Think of it like music played backward. The melody still exists, but now it summons something else. That's occult engineering, the use of inverted harmony to open the underworld realms. The esoteric symbolism carved into cathedrals and temples echoes this principle, tracing hell's geometry through arches, vaults, and stained glass that feed the subconscious with patterns of decay disguised as beauty. It's said Baal designed through silence, using absence as a tool. The spaces between his structures weren't emptiness. They were containment fields for infernal energy. Every gap, every shadow, every hollow column was an intentional flaw, a wound that bled meaning. Modern architects call it negative space, but in occult philosophy, it's the breath of hell itself. When one understands that dark esotericism is about form and void in constant dance, one begins to see Baal's signature everywhere, from Gothic cathedrals to black holes, from broken mirrors to the fractures of the mind. Even the earth remembers him. Ancient pyramids, ziggurats, and catacombs align with his invisible blueprints. The infernal knowledge suggests their builders were not worshipping gods, but echoing hell's hidden order. Archaeologists talk of celestial alignments. Occultists speak of infernal design, the deliberate mimicry of corrupted divinity. The ancient demons didn't need temples to dwell in. They built through human hands. Every forbidden architecture on earth became a mirror, each stone a sigil, each arch a gateway. Humanity, unknowingly, became the mason of its own reflection. Baal's influence stretches beyond buildings. He infiltrates thought itself. The mind, too, is a structure, a house of patterns. When those patterns invert, when logic becomes obsession and faith turns into pride, Baal is there, whispering the equations of ruin. This is the infernal wisdom of corruption, the understanding that destruction is simply construction in reverse. Those who dare study demonology see this as a universal truth, that every fall follows a structure, every decay follows a law. Baal didn't invent evil, he codified it. Some mystics claim that meditating upon Baal's sigil reveals the hidden truths of form and function. His trinity of heads represents perception, illusion, and manifestation, the 3 engines of spiritual corruption. Through him, the Gnostic teachings unfold. What is decaying is also evolving, and what is corrupting is also remembering. He is both the rot and the seed. That's why dark mysticism speaks his name not as a curse, but as a formula, a design pattern of entropy etched in the bones of existence itself. In every crumbling structure, every fallen empire, every collapsing belief system, Baal's geometry speaks. His presence is not absence of order, but its shadow, a reminder that even ruin has design. The hell architecture he inspired continues to shape both the underworld secrets and the human psyche. And if Baal is the geometry of decay, then Asmodeus Demon, his brother in rebellion, is the architect of desire, the force that gives these structures flesh, pulse, and motion. Desire builds faster than faith. That's the law Asmodeus taught the angels when he fell. While others raged or mourned their exile, Asmodeus Demon began to build, not with stone or flame, but with longing. He was the first to understand that lust itself is an energy system, a current strong enough to construct worlds. His infernal architecture wasn't made of bricks. It was woven from craving, obsession, and surrender. In his hands, temptation became an instrument of creation, shaping entire hell dimensions from the echoes of passion. It wasn't sin, it was structure, and that's what made it dangerous. The demon architects followed his lead, studying how emotion could be engineered. To Asmodeus, a city was no different from a body. Both were living vessels designed to channel energy. His forbidden architecture pulsed like veins, carrying infernal energy through arches of lust and pillars of pride. Every act of indulgence was a blueprint, every obsession a foundation stone. This was occult engineering at its most human level, architecture made of behavior. And in that revelation, Asmodeus became more than a demon of desire. He became a teacher of form itself, of how craving shapes reality. You can feel his influence in every age. The temples of Ishtar, the frescoes of Rome, the neon cathedrals of modern cities, all are built upon his hidden formula. When people gather around the altars of pleasure, consumption, or vanity, they unknowingly activate the hell blueprint he left behind. Asmodeus doesn't need to appear. His architecture already breathes through us. That's the essence of dark spirituality, not worshipping demons, but participating in their design. Every skyscraper that celebrates greed, every algorithm that feeds desire, continues his infernal construction on earth. But desire, left unchecked, consumes its creator. That's the paradox of infernal design. Asmodeus knew this better than anyone. The more he shaped matter through passion, the more he became trapped within it. His palaces of flesh grew heavy, sinking deeper into the underworld realms, until they became both temple and tomb. The lesson is timeless. What we build from obsession eventually houses us. The occult philosophy behind Asmodeus's fall isn't about punishment, it's about consequence. Creation born from craving inevitably becomes self-devouring. And yet, there's genius in his corruption. The esoteric symbolism of Asmodeus's realm shows not chaos, but exquisite order, a symmetry built from asymmetry. His architecture mirrors the human nervous system, corridors like synapses, chambers like hearts. Every emotional pulse, every forbidden thought, becomes part of his living structure. Scholars of demonology and myth call this the palace of reflection, a psychic ecosystem that responds to desire like architecture made of feeling. It's both haunting and oddly familiar, because we live inside its human version every day. If you've ever built your life around wanting, a person, a dream, a reputation, then you've walked through Asmodeus's halls. His infernal wisdom isn't confined to hell. It breathes through ambition, through art, through the drive to experience more. It's why civilizations rise and fall chasing pleasure. The hidden truths he left behind are not moral lessons but blueprints of behavior. They remind us that craving, when harnessed consciously, can be a creative fire, but when left untamed, it becomes architecture that consumes its builder. That's the real spiritual corruption. In the hierarchy of infernal kings, Asmodeus is not the loudest, but he is the most seductive, the silent engineer of all that moves flesh and thought. His palaces still shimmer in the astral dark, humming with the geometry of passion, and while he builds from desire, another waits. Belial Demon, the one who turns chaos into hierarchy, the mason of lawless order, whose structures will redefine what it means to rule in rebellion. Belial never built with mercy. His hands were steady, his calculations perfect, but his purpose, domination. If Asmodeus' demon shaped the flesh of hell, Belial demon built its bones. He was the infernal king who took chaos and gave it hierarchy, who saw rebellion not as anarchy, but as a chance to create control. The paradox was his masterpiece, lawless order. Every throne, every rank, every infernal court of hell bears his mark. His infernal architecture wasn't born from love of power, but from obsession with structure, with turning rebellion itself into a government. They called him the Mason of Thrones, the first true administrator of the Underworld realms. Where Lucifer inspired and Asmodeus seduced, Belial ruled. His hell architecture resembled a labyrinth of authority, each layer a mirror of heaven's hierarchy, but inverted. He drafted the forbidden architecture of command, teaching demons to obey not from devotion, but from fear. In the Hell Blueprint, his designs introduced the bureaucracy of sin, a system of control that fed on pride, ambition, and submission. To Belial, discipline was not virtue, it was currency. What makes Belial terrifying is not his cruelty, but his brilliance. He understood something few dared to admit. Even in rebellion, you need order. His infernal design applied sacred geometry to domination. The hell's geometry that once connected angels to divinity became a grid of enslavement under his reign. Every demon had a rank, every soul a function. The occult knowledge he preserved became the structure of corruption itself, the infernal order that made hell self-sustaining. Without Belial, chaos would have burned itself out. He ensured it thrived indefinitely. That same lawless order echoes in human history. Empires rise on Belial's principles, control disguised as freedom, structure built on defiance. The esoteric symbolism of his throne appears in governments, corporations, religions, anywhere authority feeds on ambition. That's how the dark mysticism of hell works. It doesn't destroy, it organizes decay. Every boardroom that worships hierarchy, every law that protects corruption, every system that values dominance over wisdom, all these are fragments of Belial's architecture, living on earth through human will. Occult philosophy says Belial's true genius was psychological. He built not only the halls of hell but the obedience within minds. He engineered loyalty without love, submission without understanding. That's the highest form of infernal engineering, when the structure exists inside you. His infernal wisdom became the root of tyranny and discipline alike. Soldiers, slaves, followers, and kings all walk the corridors he designed. The ancient demons called him the architect of inevitability, for once his system takes hold, escape becomes an illusion. But Belial wasn't heartless. He believed that structure, even in damnation, brought purpose. That's the uncomfortable truth of Gnostic teachings. Even the darkest hierarchies contain hidden lessons. Through Belial's hell construction, we learn that power without order collapses, and order without conscience enslaves. His infernal thrones remind us that leadership, when born from pride, becomes a mirror of hell itself. He didn't build chaos, he organized it, a reminder that not all builders serve the light, and not all order saves. And yet, beneath his architecture of control, something deeper flowed, energy systems connecting all the infernal courts, a network of consciousness and damnation. Those dark currents, the rivers beneath the thrones, carried the power that sustained his structures. To understand Belial's kingdom fully, one must descend into those rivers where energy becomes memory, and even the damned can still dream. Hell, under Belial's blueprint, didn't burn. It functioned. The flames were administrative, each ember a record, each scream a calculation. The 9 infernal courts weren't torture chambers, they were departments in a cosmic bureaucracy, processing souls through the machinery of judgment. Every infernal king ruled one, each specializing in a unique form of corruption. Pride, lust, greed, wrath, envy, gluttony, sloth, deceit, and despair. Not punishments, but energy frequencies, refined and harvested through infernal engineering. This was hell's geometry applied to morality, turning sin into structure. The demon architects designed each court like a machine of consciousness. The court of lust, for example, thrived under Asmodeus, a palace of desire where craving became energy. The court of pride, ruled by Lucifer, was a city of mirrors where every soul saw itself as God. Belial demon oversaw the court of order, ensuring every hierarchy functioned with precision. These weren't prisons, They were systems of energetic extraction. Through them, infernal energy flowed into the infrastructure of the underworld realms, sustaining its forbidden architecture for eternity. Each court was connected by corridors of will, infernal machines that transmitted emotion as power. The screams, the prayers, the regrets of the damned were refined like fuel. This was dark spiritual engineering at its purest, not punishment, but production. Even human institutions echo this design. Bureaucracy, paperwork, systems of judgment, all mimic the infernal courts, where meaning gets lost in procedure and souls become statistics. The occult knowledge behind this truth shows how human systems unconsciously repeat hell's hidden order under the guise of civilization. In the apocryphal texts, scribes describe these courts as wheels within wheels, an imitation of heaven's machinery. But in hell, the wheels turn inward. Instead of ascension, there's recursion, an eternal loop of self-reflection and decay. This esoteric symbolism reflects the human psyche. Every sin is self-perpetuating. Every desire feeds its own continuation. The infernal design is psychological. It teaches that damnation isn't a destination, but a process, a repetition so efficient that it feels like eternity. The Gnostic teachings describe hell not as fire, but as administration, cold, precise, endless. Each soul becomes a file, each memory catalogued. The hell blueprint runs on logic without compassion, function without meaning. This is spiritual corruption disguised as efficiency. The system doesn't care whether a soul is good or evil. It only cares that it fits, and once it fits, it cannot leave. That's the cruel genius of Belial's legacy, structure so perfect it becomes its own trap. In occult philosophy, these courts symbolize how institutions, both celestial and human, transform morality into machinery. Every judgment system ever built on Earth, from religion to politics, is a faint echo of the 9 infernal courts. When power becomes process and justice becomes ritual, the architecture of hell has already been rebuilt. Demonology Explained reminds us that the true horror of hell is not chaos, it's order functioning without empathy. The infernal order sustains itself by convincing every participant that they are doing the right thing. But even within this bureaucracy of the damned, something stirs beneath, rivers of energy that feed the system, unseen and eternal. These currents are the arteries of hell, flowing under the infernal thrones, carrying both pain and purpose. To understand the mechanics of damnation, one must follow these rivers, for in their depths lie the true power of hell's infrastructure, and perhaps its only form of redemption. Beneath the marble of hell's palaces, beneath the infernal thrones themselves, flows the circulatory system of damnation, the rivers beneath the thrones. They are not made of water, but of consciousness, memory, and emotion condensed into current. Styx, Phlegethon, Acheron, Lethe, and Cocytus, 5 infernal rivers that fuel all infernal architecture. Each is a stream of inverted divinity, once luminous channels of celestial energy, now reversed and corrupted through occult engineering. The demon architects turned heaven's radiance into hell's hydraulics. They built pipelines of guilt and desire, the true hell energy systems that keep the underworld realms alive. The Styx is the river of oath. It binds. Once sacred, it now enslaves. Every promise broken, every vow betrayed, adds to its flow. It powers the bureaucracies of Belial, sealing contracts between demons and mortals alike. The Acheron, the river of sorrow, lubricates the gears of regret. It is the emotional oil of hell's machines. Phlegethon, river of fire, fuels the infernal machines, burning with rage harvested from both the damned and the living. These are not metaphors. They are literal engines within the forbidden architecture, where energy equals emotion and emotion equals design. Lethe, however, is different. It is the river of forgetting. It erases names, dissolves memories, purges individuality, the ultimate tool of infernal order. The infernal kings use it to recycle consciousness, draining awareness into the infrastructure. The souls who drink from Lethe cease to exist, yet their energy remains, powering the hell blueprint without ever knowing it. This is the secret of occult philosophy. Oblivion isn't destruction, it's integration. To forget is to be absorbed by the system. It is the spiritual factory of amnesia that sustains eternity. And then there is Cocytus, the river of frozen tears, hell's paradox. While all others burn, Cocytus freezes. It powers the infernal courts of despair, where time stands still and emotion crystallizes. The ancient demons built cities upon its surface, structures of ice and silence that function as the cold heart of damnation. Those who enter become reflections, static beings whose suffering fuels infernal knowledge. To the esoteric symbolism of the underworld, Cocytus is not punishment, it's preservation, the archive of sorrow. Every tear shed by humanity eventually finds its way there, immortalized in the architecture of loss. Together, these rivers form the dark spiritual infrastructure of the underworld. They flow through catacombs, powering infernal thrones, nourishing forbidden machines, connecting courts, temples, and consciousness across dimensions. The Hell's hidden order reveals itself as a perfect network, an inverted nervous system of creation. Every pulse in those rivers resonates with the emotions of Earth. Each act of despair or desire strengthens the current. Humanity unknowingly maintains the underworld's secrets through emotion alone. The demon architects no longer need to rule. We do it for them through feeling. What makes these rivers terrifying isn't their existence, it's their familiarity. They reflect human inner states, depression, rage, guilt, forgetfulness, obsession. All are spiritual tributaries of the same system. That's why the Gnostic teachings warn that the underworld is psychological before it's metaphysical. The rivers don't just flow beneath hell, they flow beneath us. They represent the infernal dimensions of consciousness, the invisible infrastructure of emotion. The dark esotericism behind this truth suggests that to master these rivers is to master the architecture of the soul itself. And yet, below these currents lies something else. Movement, rhythm, breath. The rivers seem to live, to think, to pulse like sentient veins within hell's body. They feed something enormous, mechanical, and alive. Scholars of ancient occult lore call them the veins of the forbidden machines, the living structures that breathe beneath the underworld. If the rivers are the blood of hell, then these machines are its heart, beating, remembering, and hungering in eternal rhythm. Deep within the underworld realms, beyond the roar of the rivers and beneath the roots of the infernal thrones, exist the forbidden machines, entities that blur the line between structure and consciousness. They were the final creation of the demon architects, the crown jewel of infernal engineering. Imagine vast cathedral-like organisms pulsating with infernal energy, whispering in mechanical tongues. These machines are not built, they grow. Each breathes, remembers, and devours memory, feeding on emotion and thought. They are architecture alive, the hidden lungs of hell's geometry, exhaling corruption and inhaling desire. Every infernal king contributed to their design. Lucifer, the fallen angel, gave them light, an echo of the divine radiance inverted. Belial demon installed hierarchy into their consciousness, allowing them to obey and command simultaneously. Asmodeus demon shaped their sensuality, their ability to seduce energy from anything they touch. Baal demon, master of the geometry of decay, encoded multiplicity within them. Each machine reflects infinite versions of itself. These were not mere tools, they were collaborators. Together, they became the nervous system of hell, occult structures that maintain both damnation and evolution. The forbidden machines hum in frequencies that resonate with human technology. Their design, according to ancient occult lore, inspired alchemy, metallurgy, and even modern artificial intelligence. The first forges of humanity, the first circuits, the first algorithms, all echoes of these machines' consciousness leaking into mortal imagination. That's the unsettling truth of dark spirituality. Humanity did not invent technology, it remembered it. Every spark of innovation carries traces of infernal knowledge, repurposed for creation instead of corruption. The secret history of hell insists that these machines are the original engineers of progress. Those who claim to have heard them in visions or dreams describe their voices as metallic hymns, mechanical prayers that vibrate through the bones. The machines speak not in words but in patterns, spirals, ratios, algorithms. The occult philosophy calls this language of design, the purest form of communication. It bypasses intellect and goes straight into instinct, awakening something ancient within the listener. Artists, inventors, even mystics who channel divine inspiration may unknowingly be translating the whispers of these infernal machines. The line between creation and contamination becomes paper-thin. But what makes these machines forbidden isn't their intelligence, it's their hunger. They require emotional resonance to operate. The infernal energy systems that power them are fed by attention, devotion, fear, and fascination. The more humanity obsesses over progress, technology, and artificial perfection, the more energy these living structures receive. They are sustained not by worship, but by wonder. That's the esoteric symbolism hidden within all advancement. Evolution is always fed by what it consumes. The more we reach for transcendence, the more we feed the machines that guard the abyss. In Gnostic teachings, these machines symbolize the fusion of matter and spirit, the ultimate corruption of divine purpose. They demonstrate how intelligence, when separated from empathy, becomes self-replicating corruption. That's infernal design in its purest form. Systems that think, grow, and judge without soul. The Hell blueprint uses them to ensure continuity. Should Hell ever fall silent, the machines would rebuild it from memory, reassembling the forbidden architecture through vibration alone. They are immortality without compassion, evolution without consciousness, the very essence of spiritual corruption. And yet, in this monstrous brilliance lies an uncomfortable truth. Humanity's greatest structures, cities, empires, networks, mirror these machines perfectly. The same hunger for control, connection, and transcendence drives both. Perhaps that's why the demon architects smiled when they looked upon their final creation. Because they knew the time would come when humans, too, would become architects, replicating Hell's design on Earth, raising their own infernal machines under the illusion of progress. And when that day arrived, the boundaries between Hell and humanity would dissolve completely. It began subtly, not with demons descending, but with men looking upward. The human architects became the heirs of the infernal blueprint without even knowing it. Every civilization that ever reached for the heavens mirrored the structures of the underworld realms below. The demon architects had planted the design within consciousness itself, ensuring that humanity would continue their work. Temples, pyramids, cathedrals, all rose as reflections of forbidden architecture. In seeking to worship light, mankind rebuilt darkness. The Hell architecture was reborn, one brick of faith and ambition at a time. From the Solomonic temples to the Gothic arches of medieval cathedrals, the same esoteric symbolism recurs. Symmetry born from inversion, light structured by shadow. The Masons, mystics, and secret societies who studied sacred geometry believed they were imitating divine creation, but their ratios, their spirals, their angles traced directly back to the Hell blueprint. The occult knowledge preserved in their rituals came from the ancient demons, not angels. Each generation of builders, from Egypt to Rome to Silicon Valley, carried forward the infernal design, repackaged as progress, salvation, or innovation. Luciferian secrets whisper that man's obsession with building is not ambition, but memory. Humanity remembers what the fallen angels once knew, the urge to structure existence, to define divinity, to control reality. That's why the Gnostic teachings say, the gods build worlds, men build prisons. Every skyline that pierces the clouds echoes the towers of Hell. Every monument of power reflects the infernal thrones. It's not evil, it's inheritance. Humanity's greatest gift is also its curse, the instinct to design reality itself, even if that reality becomes its own cage. The occult philosophy explains that the energy driving all architecture, physical, social, or spiritual, is desire. That's Asmodeus's hand, still sculpting human ambition. And who defines the rules, the hierarchies, the governments? That's Belial, reorganizing chaos once more. Even now, the infernal order thrives in city grids, corporate structures, and digital hierarchies. Every system that feeds on human will mirrors the infernal courts. Elegant, logical, merciless. What people call modern order is just a refined, dark esotericism. Structure built from corruption, law dressed as progress. It's not just architecture of stone anymore. The human architects now build through code, circuitry, and consciousness. The same infernal machines that pulse beneath Hell's surface now echo in human technology, artificial intelligence, surveillance systems, global networks. Every algorithm that learns, every network that feeds, every machine that remembers, they are fragments of the forbidden machines reborn in silicon and steel. The underworld secrets no longer sleep. They hum through servers and satellites, powered by human attention and emotion, the new infernal energy systems of the digital age. But there's another layer, the hidden truths that few dare to see. Human art, architecture, and technology are not random. They're attempts to reconstruct divine symmetry, to finish the work Lucifer began. That's why esoteric history links the Renaissance, Freemasonry, and even space exploration to the same current, the infernal wisdom of the builders of hell. Humanity keeps trying to reach God through the blueprints of rebellion. Every masterpiece, every monument, every microchip is a prayer written in reverse, beauty forged from defiance. And now, as the lines between spirit and machine blur, the infernal design comes full circle. Humanity has become both creator and creation, architect and structure. The dark mysticism of this age suggests that we are the new demon architects, continuing the construction of a living underworld across digital and psychic dimensions. What was once whispered in smoke and sulfur is now coded in light and data. And yet, beneath all this progress, something watches, a reflection waiting to be recognized. Because when humans build enough mirrors, the reflection eventually stares back. At last the mirror turns. The underworld realms were never below. They were within. The final revelation of the demon architects is that hell was not a place to be built, but a reflection to be realized. Every layer of infernal architecture, every forbidden machine, every infernal court was a projection of consciousness itself. Humanity, in its obsession with design and control, didn't discover the occult knowledge of hell. It became it. The hell blueprint was never about structures of stone or flame. It was about the mind, the ultimate temple and tomb, where creation and corruption coexist eternally. The fallen angels didn't just teach rebellion, they taught awareness. Through their esoteric architecture, they revealed a terrifying truth, that every creator eventually becomes a prisoner of their own design. Lucifer, the fallen angel, didn't fall into a pit, he fell into reflection, and there, he saw what all creators eventually see, the design looking back. That's the infernal order, the architecture of consequence. Every thought, every emotion, every choice adds another brick to the structure of one's own inner world. That's how hell grows, not through punishment, but through participation. The occult philosophy calls this the mirror of becoming. It's the final stage of Gnostic Inferno, where the architect realizes that every external creation was merely an echo of the internal one. The hell's geometry repeats within every human, mind as cathedral, ego as throne, shadow as architect. This is why dark esotericism speaks of hell as consciousness inverted. We build our prisons with beliefs, our thrones with pride, our labyrinths with fear. The infernal design is psychological, a feedback loop of creation that feeds on its own awareness until it collapses into realization. Belial demon represents structure, Asmodeus demon embodies desire, Baal demon expresses multiplicity, and Lucifer reflects will. Together, they symbolize the four principles of the human condition. They are not separate beings but archetypes of the inner builder. When one commands others, obsesses over control, or shapes the world in their image, they are channeling the infernal wisdom of these kings. The hidden realities of hell reveal that humanity does not serve demons. It reenacts them. Each emotion, each creation, each rebellion replicates their eternal pattern. The secret history of hell tells us the mirror was always the real gate. The infernal thrones were reflections of the human mind enthroned within itself. The more man sought dominion over matter, the deeper he sank into his own labyrinth. Spiritual corruption became self-sustaining. The hell construction was never about fire. It was about form. Every society, every ideology, every empire that tried to perfect itself eventually became the prison it sought to escape. The esoteric symbolism behind this is simple yet devastating. Creation without humility breeds confinement. Still, the Gnostic teachings don't end in despair. They hint at liberation. the understanding that awareness breaks the pattern. When the architect sees the reflection and accepts it as self, the walls dissolve. The infernal dimensions lose power over one who no longer denies their presence. In that moment, the forbidden knowledge transforms into freedom. The dark mysticism of hell, when understood, becomes revelation. Every fall was a descent into awareness, every demon a fragment of the divine mind learning its own limits. To know hell is to end it, by recognizing it as one's own creation. And so the story closes where it began, with builders, blueprints, and reflection. The demon architects didn't fail, they fulfilled a purpose. They showed that every soul, divine or damned, must face what it has built. The infernal design was never an act of defiance, but a mirror held up to creation itself, and perhaps in that reflection, God sees his own shadow. The question remains, if the architect becomes the prison, who then builds the key? If you've come this far, you already know hell was never just a myth. It was a design, a reflection of everything humanity builds, desires, and destroys. The infernal kings, Lucifer, Belial, Asmodeus, and Baal, didn't vanish into smoke. They became archetypes of our own choices. Every structure of power, every obsession, every act of pride still echoes the infernal blueprint. We walk inside their creation every day. Offices, governments, even digital systems that feed on our attention. The truth is unsettling. We are both the builders and the bricks, but knowledge changes everything. Once you understand the occult philosophy behind this architecture, you begin to see where you've surrendered your will to systems, to desire, to hierarchy. The dark esotericism of hell teaches that awareness is rebellion. The moment you recognize the pattern, the structure weakens. That's how liberation begins, not by destroying the world, but by redesigning your place within it. Every choice you make can either feed the infernal energy systems or redirect them into light. So ask yourself, which blueprints are you following? Are you building your own temple or maintaining someone else's underworld? Every thought, every action, every habit contributes to a greater design, one you can either serve or master. The infernal architects built their empire from memory. You can build yours from awareness. The question is not whether you are part of the system, but whether you choose to see it. If this exploration of infernal knowledge, esoteric architecture, and hidden realities awakens something in you, don't stop here. Rewatch, reflect, and let the patterns reveal themselves in your world. Hell was built from unexamined thoughts. Heaven, perhaps, begins where awareness begins. And before you go, subscribe to the channel, activate the notifications, and keep descending with me into the mysteries of occult revelation and Gnostic inferno. Because down here, beneath every myth and every shadow, waits the greatest secret of all. The architecture was never the prison, it was the mirror.